Okay. Yeah. Hi. Yeah. Welcome everyone. Thanks, Mike and Nate for kicking the user conference off. Some good use case examples. Um, my name is Brandon Mulvey. I'm a project manager with Spatial Dimension. I'm glad to have you all here. And today I'll be walking you through the latest updates and features in Landfolio version 7.3, 7.4, and 7.5. Some of the newer versions since our last user conference. So we'll start with 7.3. Over the last few versions, we've introduced several significant improvements to Landfolio, making it even more robust and user-friendly. So let's dive in here. We've introduced some custom instructions in the license and agreement wizard. This allows for increased user awareness of what the system is requiring during record development. So as you're in the wizard, you could add instructions and context to what the user should or should not be entering. There's been a helpful update to the shape validation summary that disabled the result shape is valid message when validation criteria is absent. So if you're running a shape validation action and there's nothing to validate it against at that time, then you won't get that valid result shape is valid message, which is a little confusing. Additionally, there's a helpful tooltip that can be enabled to display the message, quote unquote, quote, an action of this type cannot be closed unsuccessfully when a user hovers over the close unsuccessfully button of an action. And we'll see what that looks like in the next slide. Excuse me. The new versions have enhanced the use of structured data and business rules. Mike just went over some structured data concepts. We'll also be looking at a couple of examples of this. This enhanced use of structured data and the business rules can now allows us to use structured data as data input and rule criteria, so we can get better precision for our custom rules in the business rule engine. There are some search improvements that allow searches by responsible office. Along with this, advanced search criteria, as you enter it and populate it, is now sticky. It will that search will be retained if you navigate away from the search page. Updates to the user interface allow users to display and arrange license groups in custom order within the menu. In 7.4, we enabled the same options here on grouping and visibility. So we'll see some examples in a later slide of this of how to do it. And users can now simultaneously delete documents from both Landfolio and an external repository like SharePoint if the feature is enabled. So as you're deleting a Landfolio, you'll be able to update that document in your repository at the same time. Okay, here's a quick display of the wizard instructions configuration interface. So this is an admin tools capability. On the left, we see the new license wizard configuration with the list of instruction sets at the bottom left there. There are 2 instruction sets. And within those instruction sets on the right, we can see where you can add custom instructions to any given particular tab as somebody is navigating through a wizard. Additionally, after you create these custom instructions, you can associate the set of instructions to a particular license or asset template. So whenever somebody is using that template to build records in Landfolio, these instructions will appear for them. And here is a screenshot of the action tooltip. On the bottom here, we see if that red X, or what would be red if actions can be closed unsuccessfully, is enabled. If it's grayed out based off of the business rule configuration, instead of it just being a grayed out X symbol, a tooltip can be configured to be displayed that tells the user that this action can't be closed unsuccessfully. And so they're assured that um, they're not doing anything wrong or they're missing anything, right? They're on the right path here. Onto the structured data use and business rules. Here we see an example of structured data entries being called within a payment line item calculation. Um, so when you're configuring or your BA is configuring any payment actions for your workflows, um, they can call up a structured data node here and pull an amount from that structured data tab. And structured data can also be used in search criteria for triggering workflow elements within the business rule engine. Um, so again, this would be in your business rules within your workflow that you or your BA are configuring, but you can use structured data, more customizable data to refine when and where actions are triggered throughout your workflows. Okay, on to 7.4 here. The shape validation action, first come, first serve capability has been updated to include a drop-down of asset dates for use in shape comparisons. This update, previously, the only date that was available to compare against was the application date. We've extended that to any of the related asset dates. Some new payment updates have been introduced, allowing you to handle payments in quarters and using individual quantities, so not referencing anything else. Again, we'll see what a few of these updates look like in some later slides. Action structured data node tags are available for use in custom reports. So Mike just mentioned that structured data can be associated with actions. Extending that capability is pulling structured data stored on actions and hosting them, embedding them in custom reports. 7.4 introduced additional improvements to the searches. So a user can search by a party email, and they can also search by commodity as well. So that extends some capabilities and search capabilities from 7.3. And agreement conditions. Mike just spoke about conditions, but if there are any conditions stored on agreements, they can be updated in bulk now on the import templates, and legal entities can also be imported and updated in bulk as well. We'll get to at the very end some notes about what to consider when you want to upgrade, when and where if you need to upgrade. One of those components is the fact that some of the importers have been updated, the import templates that you can download. So that's something to be aware of throughout these updates. And there's some new configuration options and admin tools, such as the ability to set structured data decimal places. So that helps, visualize data a little bit better. And the option to remove auto archive settings. So you can remove that capability of licenses auto archiving. And much like, as I mentioned previously in 7.3, users can adjust menu visibility and position of agreements and groups, giving you some more control over your workspace. Okay, jumping into some examples of these updates. Here is the update to the shape validation action configuration. It's a quick glimpse of expanded asset dates that are made available to the shape validation first come first serve configuration. Again, in prior versions, only the application date will be available. And here are some examples of the payment updates available from 7.4. On the top left, we see how payment line items can be updated quarterly or scheduled quarterly if you have that interval of updating a payment schedule. And on the bottom is an example of using explicit amounts within payment line item calculations. So rather than referring to other data components associated to the license, you can hard code an amount there. And here's an example of using structured data on an action to embed a table into a custom report. So on the top, we have what the structured data would look like on the action, right? We have our entries, and in the middle here, we have the tag that we would use to call that information into the report. Again, this would be on the back end for us to do, or if you have a report guru on your staff. And the tag you would use to call and organize your data within the report, and then the outputs, an example output on the report here on the bottom right. And here are the updates to the menu visibility options for licenses, agreements, and groups. Critically, we have some options. Again, these are admin tool capabilities that allow the people the users with the appropriate authorization to organize the licenses, agreements, and groups on the interface. So you can, on the visible and menu option column here, a user can turn on and off if a particular agreement or license group or group is visible, and then a user can also order and order those record types or object types within the menu as well. And the ordering is numeric, starting at 0. So 0 on top, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Now jumping into the latest version, 7.5. Mike took a component of this, exciting component on the interface rebrand, and showed you around that earlier. So what I'll be diving into right now is just the SharePoint integration and multilingual updates. So a few less updates, but they're more in depth, more involved, and these are tagging along with the interface rebrand. After the rebrand, we have the SharePoint integration updates. I'll be going over these in detail. And 7.5 also includes multilingual and translation updates, where object types and lookups like documents and license types can be translated into different languages. And we'll see how users can use translations in their reports and notifications. Okay, here are the critical SharePoint updates. The Landfolio SharePoint plugin fully supports Azure Modern authentication method to ensure access via Azure Active Directory to SharePoint Online. A lot of titles. So we're supporting Azure Modern authentication. And the SharePoint connector, this is a good one, in my opinion. The SharePoint connector will now store the SharePoint document ID instead of the physical file location when uploading or linking documents. And this will ensure SharePoint paths will not be broken when files are moved to different SharePoint locations. Okay. And the configurable view limit, this might be more on the back end, for the users with SharePoint integration. But the issue here was that SharePoint Online APA had a fixed or has a fixed limit of 5,000 records that can be returned. This cannot be changed from within SharePoint Online, and the list limit applies when trying to upload or link Landfolio documents into SharePoint. And an error message will be displayed if a user selects a library or folder location that contains more than 5,000 documents. So in SharePoint on-prem, at least, this limit is configurable. And so the SharePoint plugin has been updated, excuse me, to allow an admin to record SharePoint's configured limit. So that's, helps us sidestep that error. And the additional plugin property is now available to set the list view limit so that it matches the same limit as found in SharePoint on-prem. And the limit can be set to any number, but with SharePoint Online, it's maintained at the 5,000. And overall, with these updates, there's been a general focus on a focused approach on API integration that has really diversified our possibilities with Landfolio document management integration and integration to outside systems as a whole. So definitely, if you're looking at not just SharePoint, but any other document management systems, feel free to reach out to us to see what we can do and how we can support that. And some of the last updates in 7.4.7.5 focus on the multilingual updates. So now as of 7.5, certain objects and lookups are now translatable with the option to indicate whether or not a translation is required. That means that for most of the system language that Landfolio calls upon, the non-configurable components of the user interface, those are, multilingual and they can be translated based off of the user language, but there are a whole bunch of configurable components of Landfolio, like license types or document types. So if you're adding new document types, it's not out of the box language, and it might be new to your language pack. These are additions, or maybe you're altering the name of a document type or a license type for whatever reason. The system will prompt the user to indicate whether the translation in that language needs to be updated in the other language. Or if that update of the word or term that the user is updating, it doesn't need to be carried over into the other language, and the translated language can remain the same. But over on the right are the object types and lookups that can be translatable now. And I'll in the next slide, I'll go over that prompt of what the user sees. Along with the object types and lookup tables, the translatable structured data is available as well on root and child node entries. And so when a user is making an update to one of these translatable components in Landfolio, this prompt will appear to the user, and it will give the user an option to either translate that word in other languages, and it would, from the database side, indicate whether that word entry needs a translation or not. If so, you could get a translator and make those updates. And if no, you just save your language update and move on. Okay, but this prompt will be available for those using language packs and translations in 7.5, version 7.5 and above. And the last component of the multilingual updates is the report tags. So reports and notifications can now be generated with translations by using the appropriate language tags. It's available. This is available for both field and table tags, and will allow users to generate reports and receive notifications with translated tag values, irrespective of the system and or user language setting. So those are the multilingual updates. I strongly encourage anybody using or considering this to work in collaboration, obviously with us, to make sure that the users or the people with the appropriate data to make changes in the system know the full complexity, even though it's easier now of these language updates. And lastly, here are some upgrade considerations. I'll briefly run through these. So, as of 7.5, the net framework must be upgraded to 4.8 in support of Landfolio 7.5. There auto archiving of licenses has been removed. Licenses can still be manually archived by an authorized user, but the auto archiving has been removed. Landfolio now consumes Esri's ArcGIS runtime for net 100.15. And again, as I previously mentioned, agreements and license importers have been updated. So that's something to consider if you're using importers a lot, that we would need to update those as well if any upgrades occur in your site. Yeah, that concludes the overview of the latest updates in Landfolio, and thank you all for your attention. And again, please, if you have any questions or need more information, reach out here in the QA or reach out to your local spatial dimension representative or BA. You can also, as Mike previously mentioned, check out our website at spatialdimension.com. And yeah, thank you.